Great, guys. So we're about 5 minutes over here at the top. I just want to welcome everybody joining in for today as we're kind of kicking off here into our first week of doing some of our Royal Life as part of our strategic growth mentorship that we're offering more broadly inside of all of our RLS. I mean, you guys, I've obviously been inside the Royal Investing and Royal Tax. This is all part of our strategic growth mentorship initiative for everybody to have mentorship on each of these core areas of their life. And now with like Royal Life, right, this is what this section of it, of the people here that have come together that said, I want an exceptional life. And I want an exceptional life. And you know, how do I build? How does that look? What does that look like to build an exceptional life? How do I think through that process? As Chris has so adeptly pointed out here, is like, I might be obsessive about how deeply I think into these areas of my own life and how do I structure them about it. I might be bordering on like what obsessive might be. But there's some things in there with that kind of intentionality that's really done a lot of help for me. And I'm happy and very glad and blessed and honored in a lot of ways to be able to share that with everybody here for your benefit, for whatever that can be for you. So I thought here, coming into today, what we could start with is just some intentional connection with each other, just taking a few minutes here, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and going through some quick breakout groups to just have some intentional connection, meet each other, but also just bring forwards what are some of the things that are going on right now in our life? What are some of the things that are going on that might make good places for us to have top of mind as we're working through the tools today? Because as we're working through the work today, you will find the answers to whatever the things are that are coming up for you through this exercise we're going to about going forward. So, so here will be 7 points, 7 quick points that we're going to do in our breakout rooms. All right. So what I'd like to try today and see how this will work for everyone is looking at 7 different pieces of information to share. And if any of these make you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to skip whatever those might be. Number 1 would just be like your name. And number 2 would be just your location. Who are you? Where are you at? Number 3 is what are you investing in? So your name, location, what are you investing in? Those are all probably pretty simple for us, probably something we've done before and shared in other groups. But that'll give you a baseline for us all about where we're at for some of just those key pieces. Now, coming into the other ones, this is where it gets a lot harder. On number 4 here, what I'd like you to talk about or identify, if you can, if you can't, that's fine. But if you can, identify what is your superpower. And by superpower, what I mean by superpower is what is the thing that's easy for you or that people have told you is easy for you, that's difficult for other people. When you do this thing, you're like, oh, that's as easy as breathing. I don't understand why everybody can't do it this well, right? But other people are like, oh, no, I struggle with that, whatever that is. That's your superpower and the way that we'll talk about it here. Number 5, I'd like to identify one thing that's going well for you. One thing that's going really well for you. Number 6 is the inverse of that. What's a challenge that you're facing? And number 7 is, who do you need to attract in your life to help you? So it'd be name, location, what do you invest in? And then we'll go, what is your superpower? What's one thing that's going well? What's a challenge you're facing? And the last one is, who do you need to attract into your life? Any quick questions on any of those pieces before we jump into a breakout room? No? Okay, cool. So let's just go ahead and take, we'll take 8 minutes. No, we're going to have groups of 3 for today. So if we can prepare groups of 3, and then we'll take 10 minutes to do this piece. And then when we come back, we'll have some quick sharing and then jump into the education part of today's call. So if we could go ahead and go break into the breakout groups, make sure to write down what you're hearing from your partners. What are you aware of and what are you learning as you're going through this process together? When you go through your share, try to keep your share itself of those 7 points. So try to keep it to 60 seconds. Keep it really quick, snappy to go through it. And then take 2 minutes with the other people in the group just to talk to that person about them. So they'll have Chris, for example, if I was in a room with Chris will take the first 60 seconds, say, hey, this is my name, location, superpower. Here's what's going well. Here's what I'm challenged by. And here's who I need to attract to my life. And the next 2 minutes will be his teammates there, me and whoever else is his other teammate, just talking to him about those points. Tell me more about your superpower. Tell me more about what it is, who is the right person? Who have you thought about? What have you tried so far to find that person? Who do you know who they might be? What are the questions that come up for you that are in service to Chris about the things that he identified in his 60 seconds? And you'll have 2 minutes to talk to Chris about what are those things for him in this hypothetical group. So 60 seconds on the share, 2 minutes discussion, and then we'll jump to the next person. We'll be in the hot seat. Then they'll do their 60 seconds with a 2-minute discussion with the other partners. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a shot. I know you guys are all super smart and talented, and if it doesn't go well, that's okay, because we'll just meet again next week and we'll try again. I'm trying until we can dial this in, okay? Great, so if we can go ahead and break out into the breakout rooms, and then if you can go ahead and include everybody in here that we can, guys, into the breakout rooms together, so we were just joining in with all the group participants. That'd be great. All right, guys, great to rejoin everybody here today as we all coming back into our room. I hope that everybody learned something. I don't know if you guys can see that. I mean, I got pages of notes here from all the things that I picked up from my group here today. If you're listening to your group members, I bet you have pages of notes too, because you're probably thinking like, holy smokes, what I just learned today is that I got some people I just met with that have some strong skill sets and know some stuff about investment opportunities. And I was like, I didn't know about. And I was like, I need to be talking to them after I get out of this meeting to be able to circle back in and figure out how can these awesome people help leverage up my network to get me into a stronger position with what I got going on. So I'll share a model out for us, guys. We're going to go and just do a few minutes here of just sharing some of the things that we learned from our group today. And the purpose of this is twofold. One, it's to be able to help flex our skill internally about what is the importance of how well we're listening to other people. Because the more we're listening to other people, the more we're going to be able to find the ways that we can contribute value to their life and the ways that they can contribute value to ours. And the other reason that we practice this skill of sharing what it is we learned today is that way we can all demonstrate for each other is what is the learning that's happening here collectively. So for the people that aren't getting or don't feel like, hey, I'm not really learning much out of here, it shows them like, hey, there's actually a lot of learning you could be experiencing right now. That the world right now is giving you an opportunity where you could be learning a lot. You might just need to be working on those skills about how are you connecting with other people and listening to be able to get that next level. And the other piece too is by sharing this, it shows each other that we're really listening to each other. It helps foster that ability to feel connected. I don't know if anybody in here has a spouse, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever the case would be. But I would bet that the best times in your relationships are ones where the other person feels like you've really listened to them. And that because you've really listened to them, now you're feeling connected to them. So by practicing the skills here inside of a group setting, we're also going to be practicing the skills that are not just important to this group, not just important to the finances of like how we can use the network of this group to make us stronger, but also how some of those skills can translate into our day-to-day life. So I'll model out for you just something that I picked up and I learned here today too. Today I listened to Mike and he shared a little, Mike is actually in a place right now where he has a really fast growing company and that he's really was working, it felt like he was really working way too much, and that he's in a process now of trying to figure out how to remove himself from being the bottlenecks of inside the company, and also how to get his people to follow the SOPs he put together. The process he used to be able to solve that problem was to hire a bunch of people and then kind of throw them into the situation without doing a whole lot of onboarding and training. And he says they're mostly swimming okay right now. So his goal was to be able to say, I want to get more free time back for myself here. The execution of the process was I'll create SOPs and do hiring. And then the final steps of that was I don't really have time to onboard and train them. So hopefully they're going to swim okay. We'll kind of see how it works, but he's in the process of that. And what he really needs help with is finding more people who are organized and trustworthy. That's who he thinks that he needs to bring into his life. Also had a little bit of time to talk to Leah and I'm a group today. And Leah has, she invests in metals, stocks, and crypto, which are some of my favorite things right now, especially inside of an inflationary type of time period, stocks and crypto in particular. I'm really, really bullish on right now, as well as my real estate. And that Leah's superpowers are around being a connector to other people. And she's really getting back in, she's really trying to get her challenge right now is that she's really trying to get into a property that she wants to get into, but there's so much happening inside of her life, in the background of her life, that she feels that there's almost like an existential threat to her about being able to get into the piece of real estate, because she doesn't even know if she's going to be in New Jersey moving forward, or if she's going to have to move, and she wants that piece of real estate to be with her. So she's like, until I can figure out this life stuff, I can't know what it is I need to do on the investing side. And her belief is that she needs a mentor or coach to help her get clarity on like what to do and when. So sounds like Leah is asking for help for somebody who might have been walking this path before of targeting what are going to be the next steps forward for her, so she can know at what time do I need to execute on what things, as well as a challenge of the rest of my personal life is so crazy with what's going on over here. I hope that's okay word for me to use, but it's so much that I don't know how I can take action on the things that I know are most important with driving me forward to my investing goals and my other life goals that I have over there. So I was just wondering, kind of kicking around the horn here, you don't have to share so extensively as I did, but I'm just wondering about what came up what did we learn from each other out of having being inside of that group and having that time here to connect with each other. What did you learn? What did you pick up from each other about what's going on with each other, and about interesting investments or skill sets that people might have? It looks like Leah raised her hand. We'll go ahead and lower. Leah, you can go ahead and lower your hand, unmute yourself, and go ahead and share.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I was just very, very happy that people sort of were responsive and supportive. And it is nice sometimes to just explain the whole picture to someone other than maybe family members who are trying to help you and guide you, but you need other people who are seeing the greater perspective and have like maybe a question that just brings you to the next level of, oh, okay, that's maybe what I need to do.
So tell me a little bit more about that, Leah. So is that an awareness for you of just going through the process of like, hey, I went into this room and I talked to these people. I had to think about these questions, and it was helpful for you to just articulate it, or try to articulate it of here's what's going on with me, or here's what I'm trying to do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not usually talking about sort of what's going on in New York, New Jersey, that really everybody has a lot of anxiety here. And, you're kind of trying to pretend that nothing is happening so that you can just get on with your business. And just like having a teammate here, I'll call him, say, hey, you do have skills and you will be able to analyze the numbers and find something. It's just, sometimes just a couple minutes of encouragement and people sort of digging into maybe what the real issue is helps just get clarity.
Excellent.
It's great to have support,
Did anybody else have that experience going through it? Anybody else have a similar experience, just talking through the questions and then talking with their teammates? All right. I'm going to bet that we actually did have that as a similar experience for a lot of people, Leah, because that's actually pretty standard. The moment you have to answer a question, have to respond to a question in a group setting with clarity, it defines what the issue is, right? Defines where my strengths are, defines where my weaknesses are, defines what my challenges are. And so we're able to then get more clarity on, okay, great. I'm one step closer to knowing what I need to do. I might be 10 steps from taking an action, but at least I'm one step closer to knowing what might be some of the things that I need to do with precision into it. Charlie, go ahead.
Yeah, Scott. Hi. I just wanted to say in our group, and I was in the same group with you, one of the things that I learned over years, because I built global, and I've done business globally for many, many years, being an entrepreneur. But one thing I learned early on was, and this may be helpful for a lot of people who are out there thinking about, how should I do this? How should I build with all of the different kind of investment opportunities or challenges that are out there? My strength is strategic planning, strategic thinking, master planning, but what I learned was you got to go micro after you establish the macro. So what's good about working with you guys on the Royal Legal side is compartmentalization, understanding how to break the pieces apart and how to work with each section. Because when you got a lot going on, especially with what Aaliyah had been talking about in our group, the one simple concept I stuck with that stuck to me to help me was understanding build local, but think global. And the reason why that's important is because most people don't realize that when you start going overseas, right, or across to the next state or across to the opposite side to another continent, the costs are not only astronomical, but there's a lot of other unknown costs you got to deal with and challenges you got to deal with regulatory wise. So building local, if you're beginning to get into a specific area, in particular for in real estate or in crypto and some of these other areas, I think it's important to know that and understand that part of it. But compartmentalizing helps a lot because how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So if you got a lot of things going on in your life, sometimes you got to set everything else aside. Even though it sounds weird to do this, you really got to set everything else aside to look at a specific area to address the concerns you have, particularly if you're an analytical thinker or you want to try to find a solution to that situation. Sometimes you're not going to find a solution right away, right? But you can jot down all the challenges that you're experiencing with it and then move on to the next area so that you can come back to it. So,
awesome. So Charlie,
yeah.
I want to stop you right there because we have to transition into the next segment that we're coming into. But thank you so much for that. I want to just flag for everybody really quickly, since Mike, Leah, and Charlie were all members of my group. This has been some good feedback for me of thinking, wow, I probably could, we could probably spend some time talking about how to make that conversation in all the groups that I'm not involved in a little bit more like on track so they could be more valuable for everybody. But I wanted to go ahead and flag something, because as we're hearing and we're talking about here today, we've heard Charlie talk about like his strategic planning is like his superpower. Leah's talked about her ability to be like an empathetic connector and how to connect with people as being a superpower. And Mike is really his superpowers and how to build these fast growing companies. So those would be great people. If somebody like that is somebody you need in your world that you identified in number 7, I need somebody that's like this, that can think this way. Well, here's your opportunity to you can contact them directly as a private message here on the chat and just reach out to them and say, hey, listen, would you be willing to talk to me for 10 minutes to hear what I have to say? And maybe it's something that can I ask your help with just looking at this issue to help me think through it. Simultaneously, guys, we also brought up some challenges here today, right? We talked about Mike with what he was going with the way that he had brought on board these people and then what he was doing and trying to accomplish his goal with, I got my people there, but they're not really performing at the level I really need them to in an organized and consistent manner. Leah was talking about, I got all this crazy stuff that's happened in New Jersey in this world that's making it where I don't feel like I can take action, right? I think Charlie was a little responsive to that, right? He's like, well, if you could just break it down step by step with the small pieces, just take action on the small pieces that you can take action on here, compartmentalize the problem into smaller chunks. And that way you can actually do something with it. So that might be something you're really good at. And this would be a good opportunity to reach out to Mike or to Leah or to other people that you hear that say, I think they're having this challenge. Let me reach out to that person and form that connection there, because the more that you're giving to help other people with the challenges you hear them talking about, that's your credits. You're building relationship credits. And now when you're going to have a struggle, inevitably you are, that this team of people that you've now helped so much will then be, of course, in a place to also be able to help you with what are the challenges you're facing. So I highly encourage you as you're hearing about people's challenges or you're hearing about the things that they do well, if it's the stuff that they have a superpower in, message them, ask them for help. If it's a thing that you hear them challenging on, that you think that a conversation with you, that you've had some experience with that similar type of challenge, reach out to them. Talk to them and see if you can get some time on to be able to help support them with that going on. And then that way where one person is strong and helping the other person that's weak there, another person is going to be strong and help you where you're weak. And that together, we all kind of level each other up in a way that's going to work for us as a team here. Okay, so I want us to shift gears real quick, because we're going to go into the part of our discussion here today that's going to relate to the educational component, that's also going to relate to your Royal Life Planner. I don't know if anybody's been able to get their planners yet, but this would be the section that we're looking for. The section that's right here on fishes. You can see that section there. If you have your planner, the first place you're going to find that is on page 37, either in the digital format or inside of your physical planner. Would be on page 37. It's going to say the 6 forms of capital, life capital, and it's going to say FISHES. And FISHES stands for your financial, intellectual, social, your health, your emotional, and your spiritual. Those are your 6 forms of capital, just like money as a form of capital. These are the types of capital that you would have here. And if you don't have your planner, Liz just dropped it there into the chat to be able to, for you to be able to pull that up. Okay. So I'd like to take a second and talk just a little bit. I want to tell you guys a quick story. And this story is meant to serve the purpose of just getting our brains thinking in the right kind of way. Most of everything we're going to do in terms of action in life first has to come with a way of thinking about what the problem might be, right? And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to think about the problems we might have at the very highest level. What would be the broadest terms of knowing what are the important things for me to focus on? What are the important things for me to focus on that are going to make the difference in my life? Not the thousands of things that are hitting me throughout the day. But we're going to take this time as some time here to just focus on what are the most important things for us to focus on. And the story I'd like to tell you is about, it's an old story. You guys might have heard the story before. But the story is about the pearl. It's called the Pearl of Great Price. And it's an old story. The story's been around for over 10,000 years. And the story of the Pearl of Great Price works a little bit like this, is that there was a pearl collector. And this pearl collector wanted to find the most valuable pearl, the pearl of great price. And he was on the search for this pearl, and the search took him all over the world. He went to the far reaches of the East to look at a pearl. He'd hold it in his hand, and he would look it up at the light. And he looked at the pearl, he felt it, he says, no, this isn't the right pearl. I can feel it, that this is not the right pearl. So then he flew all the way to England, went to a shop in London, grabbed the pearl, held it in his hand, held it up to the light, says, no, this isn't the right pearl. I can feel it. This isn't the right pearl. And then finally he went to the coast of Peru, hoping that this final place would be, after all of his travels, would be the place that would have the pearl of great price, and grabbed the pearl in his hand, and he turned around, looked at it up in the light, and he felt the pearl, and he said, yeah, I can feel it. This is the pearl. So my question to you is, what is the pearl? What did he give for it? And what did he receive? What is the pearl? What did he give for it? And what did he receive? All right, I'd like to listen to some thoughts here that we have here. I saw Chris just has himself unmuted. I'm betting that Chris wants to share. Chris, what's your thoughts here on, like, what is the pearl?
Well, I think it's such a, I put this, I mean, it's so up for interpretation. And if I'm going to stay in that broad speak, the first thing that came to me is that the success of an entrepreneur is even when you fail, You just pick yourself back up and you keep going and you keep going until you succeed. And I've seen people who do that really well. And I've seen people who are W-2, they go to that and they fail and they just go back to W-2. So for me, it's about not just being an entrepreneur, but just anything in life, just constantly, you know what your goal is, you know what you want. And it's like anything else. If it's worth anything, there's some struggle with it. And if you're persistent, you can attain it. So, but you have to keep on trying. You got to keep on looking. And I'm being very broad, not specific to myself, because I just think the story is just really about finding it is what is important to you in life. And, you know, we all can do that, but are we all willing to do the sacrifice that it will take in order to get it? That, you know, special pearl or that just special thing in your life. And I think it defines us in many ways, that struggle. I mean, life is a struggle, and it's, you know, you got to feed yourself, you got to shelter yourself, you got to do a whole bunch of stuff. And it's what makes life interesting. It's the struggle. It's the constant moving forward. So I don't know if I answered the question to your satisfaction,
no,
but that's just kind of what I got out of it.
That's what the purpose of the story is to get us thinking. There's no right answer into it, but it's to get us thinking in the way of what is the pearl and what did he give for the pearl and what did he receive? And it comes into it. Who else would like to share? Thank you so much, Chris. What else came up for somebody? Who else had some thoughts that came up for them as they thought about what was the pearl? Yeah, Leah's pointing out they teach this at grade school. You might be wondering.
They teach this thing called fail means first attempt in learning, and to not, you know, I think that my generation failing was like such a negative, and you're so afraid to not get a good grade. And it's almost better to, I don't want to say it's better to fail, but you kind of have to, it's like skiing, right? Scott, you're a skier. You have to go to the harder slope and fall a couple times to figure out your balance. And we have to have a little more, in a positive way, acceptance of risk and acceptance of, okay, like it didn't work out.
Let me ask you one more question there, Leah. In the story of the Pearl of Great Price, where did you see that?
Just that, you know, he had to change path and look again and try again. I mean, that's anything. I think that's anything in life, that, you know, you have a goal, and it's what goal that you're going to have that's really worthy doesn't have some effort into it and some uncertainty. You have to say, okay, there's going to be uncertainty, and if it doesn't work out, hopefully you're not starting completely at a,
might have to try again, right? You have to travel to a new place.
Right.
That might be a little too on the nose for you, Leah. I don't know, with you thinking about your New Jersey property and maybe having to move here shortly.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Leah, for your share. Really appreciate that. Let's go ahead, guys, and flip open our journals. As again, I'm here, it's that page 37. And I'm gonna go ahead and share this with the screen here. And here's what I'd like to invite everybody to do next. I'd like to invite everybody here where we're looking at this section of the journal. And the instructions here are to rate these areas of your life from 1 to 10. And you can't use 7. So my finances right now, I'm, you know, like I feel like I'm doing well financially, but I'm not really doing the moves here financially that I really want to be doing, because I'm prioritizing other things in my life, and I'm not really giving it the kind of moves here. So I'm going to give that a 6. I think on my intellectual pieces, I'm actually still reading my book a month that I committed to as like one of my goals. It's not a huge goal, but it's a goal that's working well for me. And I'm going to go ahead and rate that like an 8. I think I could be doing more in terms of listening to podcasts, but I'll just rate that an 8. And if you guys want to fill yours out too, as we're going along, and I'm just talking you through some of my thought process here. My social life, you know, I'm not being a good hanging out with people socially, and things are so locked down here with COVID. I'd give my social life like a 2 with how well I feel like I'm doing with what is my social capital. How is my health? Gosh, you know, like I only making it to the gym like once a week right now. I'm not really hitting the goals that I want. I've been putting on weight because some of my diet stuff from getting sick with COVID. And I'm like up some weight here. So I think that right now I'm probably like at like maybe like a 4, and I'm hoping to get better at it. My emotional states, how am I doing with like, how am I doing emotionally? I think that this one's like, I'm at like a 9. I've been really prioritizing making sure that emotionally I'm feeling pretty solid. What I'm doing and my meditation and journaling and other work there is working well for me there too. And in my spiritual work, I'm gonna actually give this one a 6 because, you know, I'm doing well with it, but I'm not consistent like I want to be. Like I'm not consistent with my meditation work and that other type of just self-care work. So I think on average, I'm somewhere about, let's say, I don't know, but am I probably like an average of like a 5 to a 6 on average out of a 10 on these areas of my life. So if we look down here, it says you can pick from 1 to 10, but you can't pick 7. And if you look here, it says 6 or less means that's the pain point to prioritizing your goals. And 8 or 9, what would make it a 10? So when I read through these numbers for myself, I'm saying, well, you know, Scott, you're doing pretty well here on the emotional and the intellectual, but it looks like you could use some more. And it looks like you're not really meeting where you want to be at some of these other critical areas of what's going on in your life right now. So, okay, great. So, in this section here, the next step in that process is going to say, great, what would make it a 10? What would a 10 look like? And here we intentionally only left a little bit of area because we really want this to be like 1 to 3 words. What are 1 to 3 words that would say, what is like a 10 on financial mean? So for me, 10 on financial, I actually, you know, what this is going to actually mean for me is that like, I really want to create the passive income that I want to be able to buy the boat that I want. I have my eyes set on a wake surfing boat that I really want. I really want to create the passive income so I can cover off on my wake surf boat. So for me, a 10 would be like, hey, am I on the path for the boat? Am I on the boat path? And so intellectual, say, well, that's 8. So 8, I'm going to say that's good. What could be better at 8? I could say, you know, I'd really like to listen to like more podcasts. So I'm just going to write podcast as my 1 word there. Social. It's like, well, what could I do? What would like a 10 on my social life look like? For me, I'd be like, you know what? If I was a 10 on my social life, I'd be intentional about setting up dates, friend dates for me and my friends to get together so I can make sure that I have the social life that I'm looking for. Health, I'm at a 4. It's like, gosh, 4 is pretty rough on health. What would my health be at? Like if I was pursuing a 10 and my health, what would that be? And I'd say, well, I think actually for me, that's actually something called green smoothies. You blend up a bunch of greens, throw it in with some fruit. I feel phenomenal when I'm doing those on the regular. So for me, a 10 here on health is just as simple as like, hey, am I on path to tack towards a 10? And the thing I'm going to do that's going to be green smoothies. That'd be a 10. An emotional, I'm at a 9. I'd say like a 9, 10. And on spiritual at 6. You know what I really would love to get more consistent at with that would make it a 10 for me is if I was doing my meditation regularly. So I have meditation there written. Okay, so that was a quick move through the tool. And this is where I want to just connect it for everybody quickly, where we're talking about with Chris. The thing I heard Chris say was that in Chris's life, the pearl was the experience that he was looking for. Yeah? Chris said that the pearl was the experience he was looking for. And I'm wondering if this tool gives us clarity on that. And it might give us clarity on it from looking at, first, where is my life hurting or where am I doing good? And then if we can get really simple, down to just 1 to 3 words of what does that mean if we're doing well, maybe that gives us clarity on the experience I'm looking for in my financials. Maybe it's the experience I'm looking for my intellectual. Maybe it's the experience I'm looking for with my social life, etc. and that the tool itself helps us look just like the merchant or the collector is looking for his pearls, and that you define what your pearl is. Cool. So we have about 5 minutes left for today into it. I'd like to open up the floor for anybody to talk about what was valuable. What did they pull that was valuable about here today? And this process, guys, about hitting what's valuable is really important. One, it's important for you because when you say verbally, this is what was valuable for me, it anchors it inside of you of like, this is what I'm going to take with me through the rest of the day today and through into the next week. It's also important for everybody here because what you saw that was valuable, maybe other people didn't see. It's obvious to you, but it's not obvious to them. So you sharing what was valuable helps everybody else get a deeper insight into what is the value, what are the gold nuggets that they could be learning about here. And it's also valuable for me and for Gina, because as we can hear what's valuable for you, that lets us see where you guys are at and then be able to adjust to be able to better serve you in this group moving forward with it. So I'd ask for everybody, I'd like to be able to see if we can get 3 people to be able to share what was valuable, what did they pull that was valuable for them out here today in service to themselves, to each other, and to us, to Gina and I, in support about being able to better support everybody. All right, Leah, why don't you kick us off? I'd like
I talked too much today, but
haven't shared. I know, Leah, you're on a roll here. We'll let you
I'll be
moderate.
very fast.
Hopefully, a couple other people that haven't shared today will have the have enough encouragement to feel comfortable with getting on camera and sharing with you today, because it really is just so important. So thank you, Leah, for being that person for us of just putting yourself out there and being like, listen, I'll go first, into it. So thank you.
I got the 15-second answer. I really like the notion of this chart that forces you to take stock and rank things and quantify them so that you're getting a real guidance, and then saying, you know what, I'm going to list a couple of action steps. Those are simple things that took minutes to do. And one thing that I would recommend to you, that you were saying you need to do more meditation. I see you write everything down. You're a writer, and that helps you organize. If you don't have time or inclination to meditate, maybe try journaling, even 10 minutes. That sort of just is like flushes things out, and it's amazing how you can move on after that. So if you're sort of like, I don't feel like sitting down and meditating for 15 minutes, whatever, spend 5 minutes just journaling out what's annoying you today, or what you're excited about today, or what you're happy about, I'm done.
Excellent. So like if by your recommendation would be like, hey, Scott, if you're struggling with getting the meditation done, try doing some journaling, because just journaling for 5-10 minutes has been successful for you, for me, Leah, right? On being able to do that whenever you were working with that. So thank you so much for that, being supportive of me and in that vein, Leah. Chris, go ahead and speak, brother. Oh, you got your mute on, brother.
I'll try to be concise here. When I left a green smoothie in the comment section, because I drink those every day and it's just changed my life. So
awesome.
Highly recommend it. And 2, yes, my wife meditates every day. I have found that that's not something that that works for me. But what does is other forms that are just like meditation. And I'll give this as a really quick example. We all beat ourselves up over not working out enough. But the studies are really showing that even just going out for a walk is huge for your health. So it's really hard for us to not have an excuse of just 10 minutes a day, go walk around the block. Just get out. If you got a dog, take the dog for a walk. Just get outside and just start walking. And if you can do that, 10, 20 minutes a day, you're going to be better off than 95% of the other people out there. So don't overthink the exercise thing.
Chris, thank you for sharing that, man, because one of the things that I always gets a trap for me is that I always think big results require huge action. And what I'm hearing from you and from Leah today is, no, actually it's consistent small actions just done consistently over time that's going to give me the big results that I'm looking for. Is that right?
It is, but even that, you tend to psych yourself out because you just think, okay, well, then I'm gonna do it every day, and it's gonna be benefits in the long term. Just think of just like the seeing when you learn. It's just one step in front of you at a time, and just get yourself out there, whatever you're wearing. Don't have to put special clothes on or anything. just get outside, unless it's really cold. I live in Southern California, so that's easy for me to say. But just put on your hat, whatever you need to do, just get outside for 10, 15 minutes, walk around the block, and you'll find yourself, you'll get in a habit of feeling so much better. And it clears the mind. And for me, that's meditative. I do a lot of hiking. So for me, just getting out there and walking and getting in that repetitive motion, it's my meditative state. So that's how I'm relating it to the meditation.
And I wanted to just follow up with you with one thing, Chris, from your experience. Maybe this is true, maybe this is not, but it might be. So I thought I'd raise it to you. And I was wondering, when we were hearing Leah's big challenge earlier, that it's like, hey, I got all this other crazy stuff that's happened in my life, and it makes it where what I need to do is now too confusing. It's too clouded with all the emotional things that are happening with me. Have you found that by getting your body into motion, by going on walking or doing those things, that it helps quiet down that part of that mind that's maybe overactive or fearful or otherwise clouding some of what the judgment might need to be on what steps I need to do?
Oh God. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. There's no question that when you get out of the office, you just get out and you just start walking. It just can clear the mind, and really just start thinking about either the other things. And then when you come back to it, you have a fresh mind on it. I don't overthink it. I just get out there and I go. It's not with the intent of anything, but just naturally your body just craves it and enjoys it. And yes, I do find that. But I also find that you can reduce a lot of those anxieties. As entrepreneurs, we tend to think that we're the only ones who can do things. And in the end, if you can learn to really trust other people and empower them and put them in charge of things, and pay them really well for it, one way or another, you're going to reduce a lot of that stress. You can learn to do that.
Yep. That's a skill set in of its own, right? How do you hire? How do you train? How do you support? How do you set the people up for success in your life? Going with that. I see a lot of nods going on between all the people here that have been business owners saying, man, that's important to it. So that's probably for the rest of us here that might not be business owners yet. We might flag that and be like, oh, smokes. That's probably something really important for me to study.
That's like, got to be a goal from the beginning. I mean, it was in my business plan when I first started as an entrepreneur that 95% of the work has to be done by somebody else, and to let it go. And it relieves a lot of stress. Yeah.
I hear Lavetta here in the chat comment on there. So what she heard you saying, Chris, what it was, that was being present, like being present in the now is incredibly important. Maybe some of the walking and the other pieces and being able to have other people trained to do the work allows you to be more present. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Cool. And is that powerful for you in terms of being able to get more of what you want out of life, Chris, as the more you can be in the present and be focused in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Empathy is so important. I mean, we all have people around us that it's always about them. All the conversations are about them. And when you really take a step back and you listen to other people and you're present in the moment and you're thinking about them, Scott, I'll be honest, you're exceptionally good at this. You're a very good listener. You take what you hear and then you build upon it. And you'll gain so many other people around you in a positive way if we all can improve on that and become experts at that.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for sharing some of your wisdom here with the group as it comes to that piece of it, because I think that what you've done is you've outlined a lot for us, some really lofty directions to head towards of like, man, those are big goals. How do I get at my life where I'm present? How do I have like the systems that allow me to be more present, to take care of my health, and are going to set me up to be the effective entrepreneur, the effective business builder, the effective investor, whatever it is that comes as a part of being able to listen to other people, understand what they're saying, incorporate that into what your own thinking is, and help guide the people and lead the people around you into the direction that you want, because that's what we all are. Is we're creators of our own worlds. We're leading other people to help all of us get more of what we want. We're helping them get more of what they want, and they're helping us, and they're helping us get more of what we want by helping, and the inverse into it. Excellent, guys. So we're out of time here for today. I just want to take a quick pulse from whoever feels comfortable with sharing. Coming into next week, would it be more, where do we feel like we're at? Do we want to jump go to another topic, like, hey, let's learn about a new piece of the planner that we have here in the new tool and have a little bit of experience with a new chunk of the tool, just like we did here today? Or would it be valuable for us to have more discussion based upon this one piece that we talked about, and taking a deeper dive and more communal conversation about how to use the piece that we just covered on here today? How do we feel? I don't want to move us through too fast through anything. So I want to make sure that I'm being in tune with how the group is feeling about that. Alex, I saw that you unmuted yourself. Alex, would you mind sharing with us some of your thoughts?
Yes, it's really the latter, Scott. I think what you did today, although we've seen each other and we've been through the breakout, the exercise today enabled us to know a little bit more about who we are, the business we're involved in, where we're at, number one. That's important. Number two, the subject matter that you're bringing up is so relevant and how it relates to us. I mean, I can tell you, when you told the story about the pearl and how he journeyed all over the world searching for this perfect pearl, what resonated to me is that I'm like Charlie. I have multiple businesses I'm engaged in. My challenge is to really focus. And then when I have to really think about the passive income and generating the income that is at exponential growth, I realized that it has to be a business that scales, right? That means it has to be a business that affects millions, right? And as it turns out, that if there is a product, a service, or whatever that you do that can impact millions, right? If you have the business system set up, then that becomes the pearl to me. And so when you use Mike as an example, I sort of messaged him, he's not here now, where his challenge is to put that in place, because we know as business people, we can wear all the hats or we can bring the expertise in, but along the way, there are challenges. But the challenge that Charlie and I have is we've been doing this a long time. We've got a lot of shiny objects around us, and it's very, very hard for us to be able to focus on that one thing. Your story today, and especially when you start to break it down to the financial, like if there's anything else that's really a takeaway from me, is to really, I have an IP system that I think scale, because we identify this is a problem that everybody has, is to build on that, right? So that's where I'm at. So my preference would be to take a deeper dive on what we talk about, because, you know, Chris has a context and Charlie and everybody else, but guess what? This enables us to know some of us here, right? I got to learn in the breakout that we have somebody who's involved here that's doing something very special for kids and children. Man, she could really benefit some of the wisdom collectively that we have. The challenge is if we keep moving too quickly, we might just miss this point. And this is really a good place, because next week we're going to feel a lot more comfortable and say, guess what? Now I know where Alex is coming from, where Chris is coming from, and the rest of it, and you too. Then we can expand on it. And then we will get the right signal. And think, okay, I think we've talked this already to, you know what, we beat this up and then we move on. But the important thing is for us to feel comfortable with each other.
So maybe the right approach here is we'll take guys coming in here next week is that I will continue to teach and stretch us for everybody that's saying, hey, I got this and I need a new stretch coming into next week. So we'll have a new stretch going on next week with another piece of what we're going to learn, but that piece will build on exactly what we did this week. So next week, we're going to go and stretch a little bit, and then we're going to see how that stretch actually ties into the thing that we did this week. So then each week we'll constantly be reviewing quickly the things that have set us up to the week we're at. So we're always going to be learning something new, and we're also always going to be reviewing briefly any of the other pieces we've already covered. And then if anybody needs a deeper dive into it, they can always come back and look at this recording of what we did. And then also, guys, in terms of a rhythm, just setting us up so you know where we're going to be going into the future, is that there's so many layers to how to use these tools that it took me years to build the skill sets and how to find the tools and how to use them together that I've been put into this planner. So my plan is to say, great, if you liked what we did today and you feel like, man, I would love a deeper dive in a lesson of the day, tune in 13 weeks, because we're going to go through another deep dive and another rehash, but at a different, deeper level in 13 weeks from where we are today. And we'll do the full learning of the full scope of the planner in 13-week segments. And every 13 weeks, we'll just keep repeating it every quarter and keep diving into a deeper, more powerful, more precise, more clear vision of where am I going? What am I doing? How am I going to get there? And who do I need to support me along the way? Cool. So thank you for that, Alex.
Yeah.
Into it. I just want to wrap up here today, Alex. If you can just please stay on the line, Alex, after I dismiss everybody, and I'd love to chat with you and hear the rest, because I know you had something important you want to share with me before, but I want to make sure everybody can move on with the day because we're a little low. We're after time. So Liz had dropped in a couple of things here into the chat that if you haven't received your hard copy of the planner yet, those will be coming to you in the mail. If you would like to request your free hard copy, which we're only giving away for this month, to everybody, these are $60 planners that I'm giving you for free. I'm paying for them for you to come out of it. Email Gina at Royal Legal Solutions, and then Gina will be able to gather the appropriate information to be able to make sure that you get that planner shipped out for you. Otherwise, guys, please stay tuned. Come in next week. Bring your physical copies of the planners. Watch out for those emails about prompting about what it is, the thing that we're going to be talking about. And then we'll go ahead and meet and do a similar process like we did this week. If you have any particular feedback for me today that was like, hey, Scott, this is what I found that was super valuable, do more of this, or hey, this piece totally didn't work for me, or the people that were in my groups, let me know that as well too, because my mission here is just to be in service of creating this environment for all of you. So I would love to have that feedback, both what works and also what your experience was, what doesn't work. Just email me over that at scott@royallegalsolutions.com. And I'll go ahead and dismiss everybody. Thank you so much for coming here today. Go ahead and feel free to hang out if you'd like to, or go ahead and feel free to take off, and we'll see you around here next week. Thank you guys so much. And Alex, what was the piece that you wanted to share with me before we dismissed everybody?
Yeah, so specifically when you had referenced Mike and what he was attempting to do with his business, and it resonated with me because I'm at a point where I understand the value of this IP system that's been in my hands, but I have not been able to devote the necessary time to really focus on it because there's so much other businesses opportunities, on the side. And then it just dawned me and realized that this is the type of business that can actually scale, right? And so what I'm trying to figure out is, how do I bring this to market, right? So that's the piece where I believe that there's somebody out there, because
is that what you're looking for then? Like on our number 7 of our rundown is number 7 is like, I need to meet somebody who's experienced with how to bring IP products to market.
Yes, not on the technical sense, but in terms of just like what you do with Royal Legal Solutions, right? You do a very effective way of promoting and introducing and the rest of it. So it's about how to bring this to market and to simplify this IP system that I have, right? Mm-hmm. And to spend the necessary investment, to build that.
Yeah. Well, do you have anybody in your world right now, Alex, that can help guide you through how to do that?
I have identified a couple of companies, and this is something that's fairly new in terms of where I need to put some focus on, because this is unlike the other investment where, like the real estate or the crypto. This is really about, creating that business system that would enable me to scale this IP.
Okay. If I asked you, like, what was the one most important thing you need to do this week in furtherance of that vision, would that be clear to you?
The mic connection, you brought that up. You said it's your breakout, and I would be interested to find out a little bit more exactly where is that. Is it scaling his business to get it to a much more refined management level type of business, or is it really a business that he's really looking to scale? And that would kind of make it relevant.
Sure. Chris, you raised your hand here, but do you have something you want to chime in on?
Yeah, just a quick question, Alex, and you don't have to go into detail about this, but is this new venture, this new IP thing, is this something where you have specific expertise? And before you answer, the reason I'm asking is because as an entrepreneur, I when I first started, it was all real estate related. I felt I was a golden boy. Things were going so well. And I ventured off into some things that I just really didn't have a really strong grasp on. Some of them went sideways, some of them went downhill. And it just made me realize that for me, focusing on real estate was what worked really well for me. So just a little warning that if it's in a direction that you don't have a lot of expertise on, just tread lightly. It's a really shiny object, but it's something you just don't know a lot about.
Understood. Yes. Understood.
What I hear from Chris saying there too is that if that's true for you, then the work is actually really different. That the work is actually like, how do you vet that this is the right opportunity, which is different than the how of how do you make money off of it. Like vetting is different than how do you actually execute into it. Is that what you're hearing, Alex?
Yeah, so Charlie and I are serial entrepreneurs, right, Charlie? I've never had a chance to really exchange with Charlie. From what I can gather from this meeting, Scott, I have been engaged in multiple businesses since the 80s. I've been self-employed, so I understand how that piece works. Real estate to me is fairly new in 2016. And along the way, I developed all this relationship and this knowledge and skills. This particular IP was actually brought by somebody. This is his world. This is what he does. And he discovered a way to essentially provide this essential service to people, to millions of people. And when we try to do business together, he knows the subject matter, he knows how it works. But what I realize is that's not really his skill set. I recognize it. But then there are other stuff that goes on the side. So I'll go over there and then realize that I actually have this in my hand, that pearl that you said, Scott, where he searched all over the world. Well, as it turns out that it's already in my house. It's already in with me, right? So how do I then, because now I recognize the value of it, because this type of business can affect millions, can scale, right? But how do I get it to the point where I can bring this to market?
Awesome. Well, Alec, it sounds like, man, I'm hoping for, and what the vision I'm holding for you out of like with these groups is that as you're able to share more about like and get more into the process of like, what is it that I need to learn? Who do I need to meet to be able to help me figure out what's going on here? That like from this group, we're going to be able to help you get clarity on like what are going to be those pieces to help create for you. And I can tell you too, as we're going to be layering in more into the more of the pieces of the planner, that this is going to get super clear for you. Like the levels of detail that we're going to get into the planner of like, what are the action steps precisely and how those are going to need to flow to get to where you need to go. As where we're going to get to together. And so I can guarantee you we're going to get there. I just got distracted by Chris and there. Part of me wonders if the guy should have bought all the pearls. Yeah, probably, right? Just buy all of them, you know? We got to get to it. It's a good investing. I got to run, guys, into my next part of the day, but it's been a pleasure hanging out with you all, and look forward to seeing everybody coming in here next week. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Scott. You're special.